All in Sports Network. We love sports.
All in Colts, presented by the Unstable Blues.
Welcome back in. It's time again for the Unstable Pick 6. We will take turns with our predictions of 6 high-profile games around the NFL, including a couple from the AFC South. So, let's go all in Colts.
I'm Kevin. This is my son, Liam. We are the Unstable Blues, happy to present All In Colts as part of the Rogue Media Sports Network. Before we get into our one episode on the rest of the league, a Colts Corner news report. JuJu Brents is on IR with a MCL injury, according to James Boyd. A few different reports out there, but I think that's the most accurate, up-to-date one. The legend Mike Chappell, having reported on the Colts every single one of their 40 seasons, reported there's a chance he might make it back by December, but they'll know more once they get in there and they'll MCL. I figure they got to figure out exactly how much is torn and if they're going to do what they did with your MCL and shave a little bit off, or if they're going to try to stitch it up together, which according to your doc is a no-go, shouldn't do that. But who are we?
Yeah.
You're only going to school for PT in rookie season. So your thoughts on JuJu, what they might do, the injury itself, what do you think?
Well, as far as I know, if you just
I can fill you in. There's a few more other nuggets, but go ahead. I can fill you in as necessary.
So from like a doctor perspective, if you shave part of it off, then you come back faster than if you would just stitch something up. So if it's a shave, there's a better chance for him. If there's just a stitch, there's not as good of a chance. But once again, if you're 30 years old compared to whenever I tore mine, I was what? Was I 16 or 17?
17.
16. Compared to 16.
16.
Yeah, 16. Compared to whenever you're 16, for example, you what's the word? You recover a lot faster.
Yeah.
And I think that's definitely a big part. I mean, he's a younger guy, so he's going to recover faster.
Yeah.
Than other people will, than a veteran would. I think that so I think it all depends on how hard he works for it. How and I think a big one is if they shave it or they choose to kind of repair stuff through it, because not only sometimes the repair you have to take from other spots of the body, so that part has to heal as well. So
he came into the league with a wrist issue. He had a hamstring half the season last year, and now this. Is he now flawed? Is he a liability?
I think
time to move on from him being labeled the Colts' number one corner.
I think if you're injured that much, then you have to do something about it, whether it be move on from him, make him a lower spot in the depth chart, something. You got to do something about it if he's getting injured this much. So, I mean, yeah.
Chris Ballard. Love my guys. I trust my guys. What happens when one of your guys goes down, though?
Yeah. Good point. We would not be good stewards of the time you give us if we didn't put a pause on the sport and team that we love to acknowledge the importance and impact of this day, September 11th.
We do not include politics on our show, but breezing by this day would be an American no matter what side of the aisle you're on. As someone who has been to the top of the World Trade Center and lived through the original September 11th in 2001 when I was in college, it is a day that should never be forgotten. We would all be better if we could capture some of the patriotism that came out of that.
I will never forget. I went to a USA soccer game. I think I was around 11 years old. After September 11th, it was like the closest game after that. But the poor guy that was singing the national anthem couldn't keep up with the crowd. They were just buzzing out, singing their heart outs. It was definitely a good experience for me, I think. And then USA ended up winning that game. It definitely like kind of struck me as like, wow, this is a very important event in U.S. history. Not necessarily just U.S. history, but kind of just world history, I guess, as well.
Yeah.
But America is resilient, not because of the politics or economics or military power, but because of the people. We, the people.
Hard to transition out of that, but we, the people, want you to be a part of this prediction game that we play every week. Comment your picks before Thursday Night Football, and if you get them all right, we'll shout you out on next week's Pick 6. But as always, before we make our picks this week, we got to take a look at last week's picks.
Yep. First one being the season opener for everyone. The Ravens in Kansas City playing the Chiefs.
Yep. We both picked the Ravens.
Yep.
And we both got it wrong.
Mm-hmm. By a toe.
By a toe.
Yep. Isaiah Likely turned into Goofy for a little bit with those big extra long feet.
Like, it's not the wrong call. It's the right call. I get it. But it was frustrating. I mean, it was frustrating for a lot of reasons. There were some typical Chiefs calls, but I don't think there was anything like overly like, oh my goodness, I'm gonna lose sleep over that one. It's just typical like Patrick Mahomes calling for "I hurt my head, sir" or whatever. But for we'll say this. There's nothing better for the NFL than to have a game like that as your opener.
Yeah. Agreed.
Like, that's the first game, and it comes down to a toe. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah.
The next game was the next night.
Mm-hmm.
The first ever in modern history Friday night NFL game. And the first ever from Brazil, the Packers at the Eagles. We both had the Eagles.
Yep. Both got that one done as well.
Yep.
There was just
you ready? I did some research because you know my philosophy on what statistic that I can look at to determine almost always the winner of an NFL game is
turnovers.
Yep. Of all the games that we picked, including the Colts-Houston game, which we didn't pick, but we did in our schedule, of all 7 of the games that we picked, you tell me which was the only team to win having lost the turnover battle.
Well, assuming you're saying it for this game, I'm going to assume it's the Eagles.
Yeah. They were down 2 turnovers. Wow. They lost the turnover battle by 2, not just 1, 2. Because technically the punt return or the block punt from the Colts doesn't count, but there were a few that were tied, including the first game. Why it's so close. But the Eagles were the only team to lose the turnover and win the game.
Yeah.
What do you think that might be?
I think just the sheer amount of will that they had, plus just how many weapons they have. Like, you pair Saquon with a good offensive line, unlike the Giants, that's a recipe for disaster for anyone else. I mean, he had 33 points for me for fantasy. He was my top scorer.
And A.J. Brown had over 100 receiving.
Yep. And then who else was it? Hurts,
Jalen Hurts is
obviously
Jalen Hurts.
throwing in the ball. Saquon had 3 total touchdowns. He tied the most touchdowns ever for a first-time Eagles debut. He tied it with Terrell Owens out of all people. So
Right.
props to Saquon for doing that, especially against he got traded to a division rival team. So
I think the Giants are
big
going to
props.
regret that one when they see him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then next game was the Steelers in Atlanta playing the Falcons. We both chose the Falcons, and we both did not get that one.
Yeah. I mean, we touted the Falcons defense, right?
Yeah.
We were like Falcons defense, Falcons defense, Falcons defense. Well, we picked the wrong defense.
Mm-hmm.
The Steelers, it was all Steelers defense.
Yep.
And then all Steelers field goals.
Yeah. 0 points from the offense.
Yep. Nothing.
Yep.
Absolutely. I mean, you got to, the offense has to get them there. But I mean, that kind of does seem a little Justin Fields-ish, doesn't it?
It really does. Yeah.
Oh, and then the next game, we got Jaguars at the Dolphins. We both picked the Dolphins, and we got that one.
Yep. Looked a little shaky in the first half.
I wonder why.
But then Dolphins kind of just put things together and kind of rolled the table with them.
Yeah. I wonder why it might have gotten a little shaky in the first half there. Maybe somebody got a little tied up.
Yeah.
Pre-game.
Yeah. I don't know if that is necessarily the case, but I mean, it could definitely what's it called? It could definitely mess with your head and all that stuff. So
yeah, I mean, you know, Tyreek, doesn't matter who you are. Those players, you got a pre-game routine, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mess that up, it can mess with you. You know.
Mm-hmm.
So
I saw a post that Tyreek had after the game. He was like, people are detaining me and everything. They still can't stop me. I was like, okay, Tyreek. Next game was the Rams in Detroit playing the Lions. I had the Lions.
I said the Rams are going to do it.
Yeah, and they looked like they did. And then Lions went down, kicked a field goal, and it was like, well, I think it was like 40-something yards, something like that.
Yeah.
And there's a rookie kicker, too, for the Lions. And he buried it and then put him in overtime. I think Lions got the ball first, went down like with ease, and scored a touchdown. I don't know why it was 26, though.
Because in overtime, you don't do you score touchdowns.
That's only the playoffs. That's right, playoffs. Yeah, so they went down and just scored a touchdown with ease. So I mean, it was like I watched like the last 5 minutes of the game, and then I watched overtime as well, and it looked like a good game to me.
Jameson Williams is fast.
Mm-hmm.
He's really fast.
Very.
And like he just looked like he was on a different playing field.
Mm-hmm.
Like he could just do things that other people weren't able to do and cut and be open. And so yeah. He's still available in our fantasy league.
Mm-hmm.
There might be somebody who wants him.
Puka also got injured. So and I have him in one of my leagues. I don't know which one it is, but I have him, so I need to take care of that.
Yeah. That's was it a MCL sprain? Seems like that's the thing now. It's like these MCL sprains. I know knees. I mean, we could go on for days, you and I, about that. We don't want to do that. We don't need to do that. We could talk about cleats. We could talk about surfaces, but we won't. We'll save that for another time.
All right.
The last game then was the Jets at the Niners.
Yep.
Do not adjust your TV screens. This is a Colts podcast, but as I've said a few times, this is my other team. This is my other team because the Colts were bad when I was growing up. And so you'd watch the Colts be terrible. And then the afternoon game, you always watch Joe Montana and Jerry Rice because that's what it was. And so I learned to love the Niners. And there's no conflict until maybe later.
Further down the road. Yeah.
For the most part.
Exactly.
Except maybe next year I think they play. But whatever.
Yeah.
We both had the Niners. And we were both correct.
Yep, 32-19. Even without CMC, doesn't matter. George Mason, whatever it was, played phenomenally. So,
okay, everyone's talking about like this. This is what I thought of when Jordan Mason, who knew what he knew, went off for basically CMC kind of numbers. Everybody talks about Brock Purdy being a system quarterback, and he's just a product of the system. Jordan Mason doing CMC things kind of makes you wonder if everything that Kyle Shanahan has is just a product of his system. Is he that good?
I think Kyle Shanahan definitely is a great coach. But CMC is like you can tell whenever someone's a system. I think Brock Purdy is a little bit of a system, but like there are times where he does stuff that's like he gets out of the pocket, makes a good throw, or like crosses his body or something like that. You could definitely tell if they're a system or not. CMC, yes, thrives in the system, but I think is also partially the Jets just like not being prepared for whatever was going on. So I think, if CMC is out next week and they decide that he's out earlier, and the teams have time to prepare, okay, Jordan Mason's going to be the running back. Then
regardless, you got to prepare for both of them at this point.
Mm-hmm.
It's on tape now.
Exactly. So I think it was just a shock of Jordan Mason. Not expecting it type of thing. But CMC is not. I would say he's not a system player. I think he's much more than that. So
you think Jordan Mason is more like a early high seed shocker in the NCAA tournament kind of deal?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Beginner's luck.
All
right.
Exactly.
So right now, after 1 week, that puts me at a record of 3-3.
And I am 4-2.
1 game up, not a big deal at this point. I'm still at 500. It's okay.
But it is a big point if I pick the same teams you do.
You're going to pick the same as me the rest of the year.
Why not? No.
Well,
that's boring.
That is also why we flip-flop each time we pick these games. Speaking of which, do you want to start or do you want me to start? Take a look through the games, and which one do you want to pick or not?
I'll start.
All right.
Okay, first game, Bills at Dolphins. It's the Aqua throwback, so I believe it's the teal uniforms, right?
Yeah, it's the Aqua. The teal is what they have, but it's called the Aqua, so it's like the Dan Marino ones. Yeah.
It is Thursday Night Football. So who you got?
Okay, so it's funny. It's a little comical to me that this is the first Thursday Night Football game. Ryan Fitzpatrick on the broadcast. This is, you could do this with multiple teams, I guess, because Ryan Fitzpatrick has played for about half the teams in the NFL. But This is another Fitzpatrick Bowl where he will be present for. And I think this is the second time that they've had Thursday Night Football with these two teams and Ryan Fitzpatrick there. It's just funny to me. But, fear the beard. I'm all about it. And he's a smart dude. You go Harvard or Yale or something. He's a smart dude. Smart. But it's a tough one. It's a tough one. I'm going to go with the home field, especially knowing how hot it is. Although what's almost sending me over the edge for the Bills is Keon Coleman. knowing that he's from the South. He played in Florida. This would be familiar for him.
It is just one player, though. So
it is one player who's a rookie, but I fear Josh Allen in both ways. Like, I fear Josh Allen can do crazy, amazing Josh Allen things, but I fear Josh Allen can do amazing turnover things. Terrible, amazing turnover things. So does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Josh Allen is a fear factor on both sides. I don't know which Josh Allen is going to show up, so I'm going to go home field advantage for the Dolphins.
Yeah, I think the Bills just lost too much stuff on defense to keep up with the Dolphins. So I'm going to go Dolphins here as well. Plus, home field makes a big difference.
All right. Niners at the Vikings, who looked pretty good.
It's the Niners. I might go Niners until they lose a game, honestly. I believe in the Niners, even if they just have Jordan Mason. I mean, look what he did. And they have a whole passing attack that's very dangerous as well. I just don't think that the Vikings can keep up with them. And even if it does turn into an offensive game, I still don't think the Vikings can keep up with the Niners.
All right. Well, it is Sam Darnold versus his team from last year, who put him in the last game just so he could audition for other teams.
Mm-hmm.
This is his opportunity to get back at one of those many, many teams who just gave up on him. But I got the Niners.
Yeah.
I mean, look at me. Look at this.
Yeah. Next game is the Browns in Jacksonville playing the Jaguars. This is the other AFC South game that we did not pick in yesterday's episode.
Yep. Well, there's two of them. One more to come. Right. So this is, to me, a defensive battle. Two great defenses, and to me, arguably two of the most overpaid quarterbacks in the league.
Yep.
The Jennifer Lawrence, Trevor Lawrence fans are gonna hate me on that one, but long live Waffle House. But that's only gonna sustain you so long. That's not $55 million a year worth. At that point, you could own several Waffle Houses if you want.
Mm-hmm.
But it's in Jacksonville, and there seems to be something going on funky with the Browns. So I'm going to say the Jaguars get this one done. They got to close it out in the second half, though.
Yeah. I think I'd agree. I think they're going to get it off to a hot start again. Jacksonville is, I think.
Easy?
Yeah, sorry. And I think that Jacksonville this time is going to learn from their mistakes and keep their foot on the pedal, keep going.
All right, the next game is the Buccaneers at the Lions. This is a NFC divisional round rematch where the Lions got their first playoff win since 91. And Eminem was in the house. I'm not sure if he's going to be there this time. Who you got in this one?
Both these teams played really well this last week. Baker Mayfield had a phenomenal game. The Bucs just played really well. The Lions played really well, but they just played a tougher opponent than the Bucs. I think once again I'm gonna give it to the Lions just because of the home field advantage. So that's kind of my thoughts.
All right. These two teams, I think, match up really well against each other. They're very similar in their toughness, right? The Lions are all about their grit, but when you got Mike Evans and you got Rashard White and even Baker Mayfield plays with to him, They both have very good, underrated receiving cores, defenses, the whole deal. Like, they're almost mirror images of each other. And so
Yeah.
I think this game is going to come down to who has the ball last and who has less injuries. They may take each other out against the ropes like two heavyweights. But I'm going to differ from you here.
Okay.
And say that the Bucs get their revenge from the playoffs in this one.
Okay. Yeah. I believe is it my turn to choose?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Next game is the Bengals in Kansas City. Kansas City gets 2 home games in a row. They are, Bengals, Chiefs. They hate each other at this point.
Yep.
Burrowhead, all that stuff. So.
Yep. If T. Higgins is back, this could be entirely different. But the Bengals just did terrible against somebody that was laughable in the Patriots. Yep. Now, maybe the Patriots aren't as laughable as we thought, but maybe the Bengals are not nearly as good as we thought either.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I hate to say it, but maybe they lost more than they thought with Joe Mixon and didn't get it back in Zach Moss. We love Zach Moss, but maybe Zach Moss is just a really good backup.
Yeah.
And I know Jamar Chase was not, 100% in that game either, because coming off of from his hold out, hold in combo thing, still don't have a contract, all these things. But the way that the Chiefs looked against the Ravens, there is no shot for the Bengals if the Bengals played like they did and the Chiefs played like they did. So I have to go with what is on tape. So
yeah,
Chiefs will get it done, I think.
I think Chiefs are going to get it done. I don't think that the Bengals are at the level that they were whenever the Bengals could go into Kansas City and beat them. Now, I'd love for the Bengals to win because then I can talk about it to Isaiah. But as of right now, I think I have to agree with you that I think the Chiefs get it done.
Last game of the week is the Bears at Houston on Sunday Night Football. Last year's Rookie of the Year versus this year's number 1 pick. What do you think?
We kind of hit on this a little bit in yesterday's episode. Just kind of going over the Houston game. I think that Houston just has too much weapons for the Bears to be able to keep up like they did, like the Bears defense could this past week. Bears defense / special teams, because the offense scored 0 points. I don't think Houston is going to go out there and score 0 points. I think they're going to be able to go out there and score at least a field goal. And if you do the math, then, that's less points that the Bears get on defense or special teams. So I think that, obviously Houston's going to score more than that, but that's just kind of an example type of thing. So I think Houston's going to get it.
All right. I think there's going to be all this hype over the quarterbacks, but it has way more to do with the supporting cast, including on the other side of the ball. And so I think that the Bears are still gaining an identity, and Houston has that identity and has just dropped a ton more people in there and said buy in or get out of the way. And so I think Houston's going to get that one done.
Well, we want you to be a part of this as well. Comment your picks before Thursday Night Football, so no cheating. And if you get them all right, we will shout you out on next week's Pick 6.
And that does it for today. We'll be back with our first fantasy statement where we will discuss only Colts players' fantasy stats, how they stacked up this week, and a look at their projections ahead and who you may want to pick up on the waiver wire.
Yep. This is Liam.
And this is Kevin.
Reminding you to stay all in Colts.
All in Sports Network. We love sports.